on that day, I was at a theater and school called Cooper Union in New York, in Manhattan. I went there to listen to some lecture, and the lecturer came out on the stage, and he said to everybody, please go home. There will be no lecture today because we found out just now that the Japanese have bombed Pearl Harbor, and by tomorrow morning we'll be at war. So I was a young kid of 20 years old, and a shiver went up and down my spine when I heard that. I went home, and 5 months later, after that, I enlisted in the army, and I was sent to North Africa. First of all, I'm Jewish. The spirit at that time was that Hitler in Germany and Mussolini in Italy were taking over Europe. Hitler was dragging, he killed 6 million Jews and sent them to concentration camps. I visited as a soldier. I went to one of the concentration camps, Dachau. The spirit of that, all of us knew what was happening, and so the spirit of that led me to enlist. It's inconceivable it's sometimes hard to remember that what I saw really happened. To me, World War II was the only war, perhaps in history, certainly the only war in my lifetime that really was important and did something important. But alas, it didn't last. And now people are just as prejudiced. Many people are just as prejudiced as they were before. Right now, the United States is so divided. We're not together. At that time, we were together. People had different opinions, but people weren't, because of the different opinions, people weren't crazy toward one another. People were at least in general, were reasonable. Also, there's so much prejudice. I mean, people hate blacks and Jews and Catholics, and it's crazy. Does it worry me? Of course it worries me. Yeah. Before World War II and during World War II, blacks, for example, couldn't, now we've had a black president at least and so on, but in those days, blacks couldn't come. For example, there were separate, even in New York City where I grew up, there were separate box offices for blacks and whites when we went to the movies, for example. It's insane. Now things are much better, but many people are still goofy inside. On the one hand, we hear that all people are created equal, etc., but we don't act that way. Of course all people are equal.